Welcome to our channel. Today we will be reading one story from r/nuclear revenge. My uncle died and raped my friends. I made sure he never saw his now ex-wife and children ever again by getting him banned from a whole country. TW rape, sexualizing children. Warning. This is a long story, but I promise it is worth the read. Names and countries have been changed. Some aspects of the story I'm omitting as it's far too traumatic to myself and his victims. About 22 years ago, my mom got a frantic call from my uncle's best friend to say he had been arrested. Apparently, an ex-girlfriend had accused him of rape, but she was just being vindictive because he broke up with her. My uncle Chad is obviously innocent. We all love him. He is our charismatic, friendly, outgoing, loving uncle. He would never hurt anyone. The family all send money for legal fees. They are in France. We are in South Africa. This is true because it's all over my profile. The best friend sends us all the updates. No one ever thought to Google anything. We were getting it from the source. He was found guilty and the family was devastated. We all send money for an appeal. This goes on for 2 years. And then we get the call that he has been found innocent and released. After his release, he meets Lucy, who's originally from Canada. Lucy is lovely, comes from money in a very big way. He's so charming and convincing. They are married in less than 8 months. Huge wedding in French. Then suddenly they are having separate honeymoons. He was going to honeymoon in his home country, Namibia, and she was going to Canada. They would then meet up in Brazil. He stayed in Namibia for a couple of days and then partied with us in SA. We teased him that he took his wife's surname. He said that is what she wanted. She is the boss. Haha. And then he cheated on his wife? I was floored. I had looked up to him all these years and he cheated on his wife on their separate honeymoons? I was disgusted. I see him once after that. He tells me he's unhappy in his marriage, blah blah blah. He now has 2 children. I honestly couldn't care less. Then 6 years ago, I get a message from him. He's getting divorced. He's coming to SA. Can he crash on the couch? I say sure. He's still family. I haven't seen him in maybe 10 years. Maybe he has changed. He arrives and we have a blast. He hits it off with my fiance. He's funny and happy. Like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He tells me they were both cheating. The relationship was extremely volatile. They were always fighting and on edge. They are toxic for each other. She is a total control freak. He is on Tinder and hooking up on the prowl. He leaves for a couple months to travel around SA. It is an extremely beautiful and diverse country. Comes back, lives again. We don't mind. He's fun to have around. One of the weeks he is in town, he meets my friend Jane. Jane is a gorgeous, wild, fun, out there. They hit it off instantly. He asks her out for a drink. She says yes. She tells me the next day that they were having a great time, but they must have drank a lot because she can't remember much of the evening. She vaguely remembers Chad going home with her. They must have had sex. She just can't remember. This is not unusual behavior for Jane. She has a chronic drinking problem. She will get drunk and go home with men all the time. I have learned the hard way not to bring this up. Also, we are all 40 plus. I'm not going to start telling other adults how to live their lives. I'm definitely not a saint. 2 days later, Chad has to fly back to Namibia and calls Jane from the airport. We're sitting together having lunch. Chad says that he's so glad he has photographic mementos of their time together. She's confused. He then sends her all these nude photos of her unconscious laying on the bed, put in different positions. She just starts crying. She doesn't show them to me. I am sent them at a later stage. She tells him to delete them immediately. He laughs. She's furious and embarrassed. She starts reflecting on the evening, trying to remember details. Digs through her handbag and finds the receipt. Cheap bastard left his wallet at home. 2x gin and tonic and 2x tequila. Definitely not enough to get a seasoned drinker blackout drunk. I'm furious. Jane is furious. For some reason I think about his rape conviction and Google his name. Holy shit, I wish I had done this 20 years ago. At the top of the Google search, Namibian rapist released from jail in political blunder. We read this article in silent shock. The truth, 2 years before being caught and convicted, he met a woman in a nightclub, dragged her drink, took her home, took naked photos of her and then raped her. She went to the police the next day. Luckily, there was DNA. 2 years later, he gets arrested for drinking and driving. They take his DNA and bam, it's a match to the rape. They have all the surveillance footage and the photos on his phone. Easy conviction. Even though he had tried to convince the courts they were dating and she was a jilted lover. Can I stop for a moment to puke? His story about being innocent and released is all bullshit. Some politician who was trying to make a name for himself decided to release 100 non-violent criminals. Chad got on the list somehow. About 8 months later, they realized their mistake, rearrested him and extradited him back to Namibia. Hence the separate honeymoons. While in Namibia, he changed his name and took his wife's surname so he could get into Canada. They don't take convicted felons. I tell Jane we need to go to the police. She says absolutely not. She has dealt with SA police, with rape before, and it's worse than the actual event. I tell her I know someone, ex-policeman, who can help her. We end up getting into a huge fight. She blames me for introducing them. She has had a couple of drinks on top of this devastating realization, slaps me through the face and leaves the restaurant. I'm beyond furious. I'm murderous towards Chad. I sent him a message saying that I know he had drugged and raped my friend, and I know about his real past. He is despicable and disgusting. His response: I'm so over your drama. Does this look like she's drugged? And then proceeds to send me all the naked photos of my friend. I'm physically ill. No one wants to see photos of their friend like that. She refuses to take my calls, and that day was the beginning of the end of our friendship. I'm haunted. This consumes my thoughts day and night. I decide to message his wife. I say I'm so sorry about your divorce and tell her all the shit he has said about her. Are you sitting down? There is no divorce. They are having issues with his infidelity, but he promised it would never happen again. He has a therapist who has advised that he should come to SA and find himself. I tell her exactly how he is finding himself. She breaks down and tells me everything. From his sexually harassing the live-in Ogres, hiding cameras in their bathroom to film them showering, getting one of them pregnant. There was a huge court case because he denied it was his and refused to take a DNA test. Court made him take the test and he's the father. She sends me all the affidavits, court papers, reports from the therapist, etc. She also sent me screenshots of their conversations. Open message of him saying how much he misses her and how this trip will save their marriage. He misses her more and more every day. All the time telling us that she's crazy, abusive, controlling, and cheated on him with his best friend. Spoiler alert, there is no therapist. He created a fake Gmail account and sent reports to his wife on his progress. The therapist basically said she must forgive him for his infidelity because he had a traumatic childhood. And he's actually a super nice guy. If I wasn't his therapist, he would be my best friend. I kid you not, that was in the report. I am not sure if his wife was just really gullible or hopeful, but I saw it the minute I opened the first email. I mean, the idiot even made the same spelling mistakes and used the same colloquialism. I plot and plan what is the worst possible thing I can do with him. I am all consumed. In SA you can pay someone for anything. But I'm a big believer of karma, so I know I can use any nefarious means. I realize I have copies of all of his documents, passports, Namibia and Canada. His ID with his original name on it. Bank statements showing he had loads of money. He was supposed to send money home to his wife. Before he left, he took the proceeds of a car they sold. It was meant for the farm, but he told her he needed it for his sabbatical. He would flip cars in SA and double the money. Then I remember he changed his name and took her surname so he could get into Canada. So far about a year I went backwards and forwards in my head. If I report him to the Canadian immigration, what will be the repercussions? I was troubled and torn. I'm not a malicious person. I was still fucked off and felt like I needed to do something. I am a person of action. Then I heard he had done the same thing to someone extremely close to me. Annie, during the same period as Jane. She only remembered a year later after extensive therapy. So I sat down in front of my laptop and wrote the most detailed, factual, devastating letter of my life. My hands shook the entire time. I put it all in there. The French rape with links to all the newspaper articles, screenshots of messages to me, blanked out showing he's distributing naked pictures without consent. Illegal in SA as well, but not much enforcement. A full timeline of his life, highlighting his name change to deliberately deceive to Canadian immigration. I made it very clear in my letter report that his behavior had escalated without resource. I did not include the affidavits or correspondence from his wife. Even though she knew of his deception, I didn't want her to get into trouble. I pressed send and got very drunk. It was 100% anonymous, so I never got a response. I just carried on my life and helped Annie get better. Jane and my friendship deteriorated beyond repair. She deliberately started dating my brother and has turned him against me. That is a whole other messed up story that I might write about one day when it stops hurting. I only told Annie what I did this year. I have kept it a secret for about 3 years. I know he has not been able to go back to Canada at all, banned for life. Part of me feels sorry for his kids, and bigger part of me thinks I did them a favor, especially his daughter, who he had started sexualizing, saying things like, "Isn't she sexy for a 13 years old? You can see the hot woman she will become, etc." Puke 1,000 times. He got pregnant, was only 18. I'm friends with his ex-wife and FV. She's Facebook happy. New guy, kids are happy. If you got this far, thank you for reading. 2 lines didn't read. My uncle drugged and raped my friend. I found out he was a convicted rapist in French and got him banned from Canada, where his wife and children are living.